You don't chase opportunity. You chase milliseconds. This isn't about profit windows. It's about control windows. How fast can you click before the doubt catches you? Before regret overtakes the trade? You aren't trading the market. You're racing your own panic. You call it arbitrage. But what you're really doing is injecting latency into your bloodstream and calling it edge. You need speed, not because the setup demands it, but because stillness would make you confront the trade you shouldn't have taken yesterday. It's not a system. It's a sedative. Every price discrepancy is just another permission slip to distract yourself from the emotional wreckage you refuse to tally. You say low risk, high frequency, but this isn't a math problem. It's a pattern of escape. You're not calculating spreads. You're pacifying guilt. Every entry isn't a precision move. It's a deflection. Every scalp isn't an opportunity. It's a rehearsal for collapse. And the latency? That's not a metric. That's your delay in facing what you already know. You're not here to win. You're here to not feel. Latency isn't the tool, it's the leash. You built your strategy around milliseconds because seconds feel like judgment. A second of silence is a second too long to hear your own mind screaming. You talk about inefficiencies in price, but ignore the inefficiencies in your own decisions. You call them gaps to exploit. They're just gaps in your tolerance for discomfort. There's no edge in being first if the only thing you're beating is your own breakdown. You reroute emotions through execution speed. Feel panic. Click faster. Feel shame. Search tighter spreads. Feel emptiness. Open more positions. It's not latency arbitrage. It's latency anesthesia. And every time the trade hits, you get just enough chemical relief to avoid asking the real question. Why do I need this to work this fast? You hide the addiction behind dashboards, broker tick speeds, execution time, slippage charts. But you're not optimizing for profit. You're optimizing for numbness. Because if you slowed down, even for a second, you'd have to admit the setup never mattered. The pattern was you, frantically proving you're still disciplined by trading through emotional debris as if speed could redeem you. The lie isn't in the chart. It's in the urgency. You say it's calculated, but it's compulsive. You say it's opportunity, but it's reflex. Every time you see a pip difference, you see a chance to repair something that broke long before you opened the platform. And arbitrage gives you that illusion that with just enough precision, just enough latency edge, you'll reverse the one trade that haunts you. But you never do. You just add another tick to the chain of unresolved reactions. You don't even check the market conditions anymore. You check the latency monitor. If the ping's low, you call it a green light. If the server's hot, you call it alignment. You don't scalp the market. You scalp time itself in hopes of removing just enough space to avoid awareness. And when it works, You tell yourself you're back. You whisper, I just need to rebuild momentum. But momentum built on avoidance is just collapse with velocity. This is not about opportunity. It never was. It's about precision rituals that distract you from precision pain. Latency was never the edge. It was the mask. And you're not addicted to trading. You're addicted to delay, to the perfect micro window where you don't have to feel like a failure yet, but the window's closing and you're still clicking. There is no clarity in speed, only silence drowned in action. And when it stops working, when latency turns to lag, when your broker slips you 3 pips wide on a 2-pip scalp, you don't walk away. You double down. Because now you're not chasing opportunity. You're chasing restoration. You feel wrong inside, and you assume it's because the trade failed. But it's deeper. You feel wrong because you've built an identity on split-second recovery. You've trained your nervous system to see stillness as threat and movement as proof you're alive. So when the ping spikes, you spiral. When the entry delays, you rage. Not because the market is unfair, but because your ritual cracked. And without it, you're left alone with the very self you've been scalping away. The cost isn't the lost trades. It's the shrinking of your internal threshold. You used to handle an hour chart. Now 1 minute feels too slow. Now 5 seconds of hesitation feels like failure. Your nervous system is wired to sprint in a market that rewards stillness. You lose the ability to wait. You misread price, not because your system's flawed, but because your hands are faster than your thoughts. Your strategy becomes a defense mechanism, a way to avoid processing the damage you're stacking up, trade after trade. And that damage spills into your sleep, your relationships, your self-worth. You tell yourself, I just need a clean win to reset. But there's no reset. Only recursive panic, looping through every open position. You convinced yourself you could control. Eventually you start hiding it. From your trading journal, from your friends, from yourself. You don't talk about the trade that slipped. You don't log the missed entry because the latency was off. You just call it market conditions. But inside, you know, it was you. Clicking to escape, not to execute. You stop trusting the charts. You start blaming the platform. You test other brokers. You change servers. But the problem isn't the tech. It's the timeline you've trapped yourself in. One where every second is a test of whether you can stay numb enough to press the button before regret floods back in. This isn't about edge. It's erosion. Every micro win buys you another minute of borrowed peace. But the cost compounds. You lose track of your strategy, your rules, your margin, yourself. You're not trading anymore. You're reacting. And the latency that once felt like leverage now feels like a noose. Close the platform. right now. Don't minimize it. Don't slide it to your second monitor. Shut it down. Because as long as it's open, your nervous system will keep whispering. Maybe one more. You'll keep glancing, refreshing, rationalizing, calling it research, when it's just relapse in disguise. The truth is, you don't need one more trade. You need one honest moment. 1 second of silence without a click to cover it. What you think is discipline is just obedience to your own escape loop. You created a system not to win, but to avoid stopping. The faster you trade, the less you feel. The tighter the spread, the smaller the doubt. You aren't refining precision. You're deleting hesitation. But hesitation was never the enemy. It was the signal that you knew something was wrong. So here's your next step win. Pull up your trade log. Find the last 5 arbitrage entries. Write down what emotion came right before each one. Not the setup, not the time of day, the emotion. Write it, and then write down what you were trying to avoid. Do it without editing. No analysis, no strategy talk, just raw behavioral inventory. Because your data won't save you, but your patterns will indict you. You've been pretending this is about latency, when it's been about anxiety all along. You needed something fast, so you wouldn't have time to question your motives. But speed doesn't make your trades cleaner. It just makes your collapse harder to catch. You have to start making space, 1 second at a time, 1 pause at a time. You won't find peace in milliseconds. You'll find it in the decision not to run. You'll be tempted to open the chart again, to check the ping, to backtest one more thing. But that's not analysis. It's ritual. If you want your clarity back, you'll have to kill the loop, not optimize it, not update it. Kill it. This doesn't mean quitting trading. It means stripping the anesthesia off the parts of trading you use to regulate emotion. You don't need tighter execution. You need tighter honesty. Because you already know your best entries didn't come from panic. They came from presence, from space, from the moment after the twitch, when you chose to breathe instead of click. That moment still exists. You just haven't visited it in a while. So start now, not later. Later is the drug. Now is the withdrawal. You weren't trading latency. You were trading your guilt. Every micro entry was a micro confession you couldn't say out loud. You kept telling yourself you were disciplined when all you were was desperate to look in control. The truth is, you didn't trust the trade. You didn't trust the setup. You only trusted the twitch, the brief window where panic looked like purpose. But panic isn't precision, and precision without presence is just performance. You thought you were faster than collapse, but collapse was never behind you. It was inside you, riding every low-latency entry you mistook for progress. This was never arbitrage. It was self-erasure, masquerading as opportunity. You didn't lose to the market. You lost to the part of you that believed fast pain hurts less than stillness. And until you face that, you'll keep scalping seconds to avoid the hour you finally admit you're not okay. This video confronts behavior. It does not define identity.